What is up, comic fam? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. It's Sunday. That means it's at week's end, and this is the special spoiler-filled episode for Transformers Rise of the Beast, the brand new and 7th film in the Transformer franchise. We have an awesome all-star pack panel for tonight. I'm really excited to dive into it. I had to reach out for some extra help and bring some people in that actually know a lot more about this than me because I'm the odd man out on this one. So let's get into it. As always, the video is sponsored by Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to check them out at their website on social media. They sponsor the monthly Legion Loot channel membership, so be sure to hit that join button down below. Become a channel member, get in on the action, check out that Legion Loot and all that good stuff. And if you need anything cleaner press, hit up my man Justin over on Instagram. Let him know you found him via the channel and take advantage of the special offers he runs for viewers of the channel. I'll be sending him some books tomorrow for my first submission of the year. And as always, the video is sponsored by the local shop, ABX Comics and Games. I got to get the new decal for their new updated location and everything. But let's waste no time. Let's roll in. First off, the co-hostess with the mostest, hailing all the way from the next sector over, Mr. Paul Cook.
What's going on? I like you. I'm probably. I mean, although I have some definite thoughts about the movie, I am probably of the five of us probably have the least amount of Transformer knowledge than anybody.
Yeah, and you know, we do have a regular guest on this show who's been pretty much, I'm sure he had to wear an adult diaper to see this. He's been pumped about it since they first announced it. I think for as long as I've known this guy, he's been talking about this movie coming out, and it's finally here. Oh my, Ava had the remote? Well, guess who's excited for Beast Wars? TM Nerdy is. Oh, he's excited to watch Avatar.
I filled that diaper.
He was so excited he went out and got his hair cut.
Yeah. I can't tell if he was menacing or dapper. I mean, kind of a blend between both.
Shaved around the edges, too.
Mm-hmm. You know who else is shaved around the edges? You just have to guess which Ez. That's none other than Izzyverse NYC is here to wait.
Nah, I need a haircut. Look at this thing.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, I need a haircut, man.
Glad just to be here tonight, Izzy. I actually had the opportunity to speak briefly on the topic with Izzy last night over on J-Man's channel, and I was having an absolute blast talking to people who are diehard and like longtime Transformer fans. And when I knew I was going to do this stream, as we do with any big movie release, I knew I had to have one guy. If he was available, I need him here for this. Have to have him, and that's none other than my man, my homie, Flash by Night. TJ, what is happening?
Don't call it a comeback.
I've
been here for years. I've been waiting for that all day long. And I'm like, please don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
You nailed it. I'll be honest with you. That moment in the theater, my entire theater, everyone that was in there started cheering, dude. And like, even both my kids, 3 and 5-year-old, both sitting there, arms went up. Yes. And me and the wife both acted like just irresponsible adults screaming. Like, dude, that was a scene.
The best type of adult, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was a scene. I'm like smacking Finn in the chest. Here we go. And he's just bouncing in his feet. I'm excited. Let me say hey to the chat real quick, and we'll dive into this. I'm really excited. We have Las Crucius weighing in at 7:48 p.m. Ooh, cutting it kind of close there. Normally weighs. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I made the stream early. Yeah, I did. Couching and slouching with C Bizzle. What is up, brother? As always, it's fun to remind people. He just posted episode 21 of his unboxing series today. He typically posts on Sundays, and I keep track of them. You know, we tend to, that's kind of a thing now. We announce that at the beginning of this show. We're up to episode 21 with C Bizzle over there. Check him out, guys. John Stout, hope you're doing good. Durs, my man. I'll be seeing Durs and probably cradling him in my arms and smooching him on the cheek and taking care of him. You got to protect him like a baby bird, but I'll be seeing him at his first big con at Heroes Con this coming week.
Yeah, he's excited, man. We were talking earlier. He's excited about it.
What you guys do in your hotel room is none of our business.
This is going to happen on the con floor.
For everyone to see.
It's going to be public. It's going to be public. Everybody's going to see the love. Yeah.
I was fortunate to meet TJ there for a brief moment last year. He was there for one day, I think, and just kind of passed briefly. But you need to get back up there again.
He's going to get kicked out of his first con within the hour.
Probably. All my weeks in now. What is going on, Flo Dameron? Hope you're doing good, dude. I appreciate Flo. He probably is the most up to date on news stuff I've ever seen. Like the new Star Wars game, he just had a commercial drop for it today. He shared it in the chats like the second it went live. It looks pretty cool, by the way. I have no clue what I was looking at, but it looked cool. Dr. Von Hoot from the Spiral Dimension. Hoot, 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 hoot.
Got to get the hoots out.
What is going on, Chris? Hope you're doing good. Well, I just actually got off the phone with him a couple hours ago. We were trying to solve the no admin in the chat dilemma. Paul.
Yeah, he told me. It's anarchy. It's just anarchy.
I told him we're all equal.
He's just chatting. He's like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" It's like that's not me. That's not
so
me.
confusing.
Paul's
He's just like, all right, guys, and
like,
he was replying
don't
to you. I was like,
that guy.
what is going on? Paul's replying to Paul. Like,
Yeah.
all right.
It was a true multiverse moment.
Exactly.
But it was C-Biz was like, UFF first better get out of here.
There's about to be an
It reminded me of Mystique turning into Wolverine in the first X-Men movie, and nobody knows who's who.
The claws, you just break the claws.
What is
I
going
do
on
have a
with
question
Star
about the
Wars?
breaking claws, but that's a different time.
DJ Links. We'll cover that before we go because I'm curious to hear your question.
No, the question's about the claws. It's really simple. It's like when she's fighting Wolverine in the first movie, he breaks her claws.
Yeah, she's not made of adamantium. It's that simple.
Right. Yeah, no, I know that she's not made out of adamantium, but was it part of her skin?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, it's part of her.
So
Yeah.
he technically cut her.
Yeah, that's why she screamed.
Yeah. It's just a weird scene. It's just that
I wonder-
thinking about
So she's not made of adamantium, but was it some sort of metal? Even though it wasn't adamantium.
No, it was her skin. It was pretty much her body here. In a nutshell, it was her skin. You know, we're talking about a movie that how old is it? 25 years old now, or something like that. But,
I always get confused by movies that have shapeshifters that do a whole lot of shifting, like clothes and other articles.
He's so consistent about the clothes, right? Like she didn't need clothes because she could shapeshift into her clothes.
Yeah.
I love that these movies have been brought up because it's not going to be the last time we talk about the X-Men franchise. In a little bit, we talk about like one of the guys that directed the X-Men franchise and like why Michael Bay is set as a producer, in my opinion.
Tell Mimi I like her eyeballs too.
I was just mesmerized. Whew. Is it hot?
It's a little hot. So there's a lot of people in the chat. We're running a little bit late today just because
Transformers.
But what is going on to everybody? If I missed you in the chat, I'm sorry. I'm kind of scrolling through it.
Yo, Freaky Lou yesterday was on point.
Ailing, what is up? What is up?
You're not sorry. You apologize, but you're not sorry.
Thank you, Paul. Kenneth Bird, what is happening? Trev the Shipping is in here. Freaky Louie's in here. Cryo Prime. The Prime makes me think that this is a Transformers person.
Yeah,
it is.
Cryo
He is. Yeah.
Y'all said that like I'm missing something. Hey, Cryo.
I know him personally, so.
You know I know personally? Who's most definitely a Transformers fan? I was talking to Paul on my Rise of the Beast panel dream team. There was 3 people. I wanted TM for his Beast Wars fandom. There's TJ because that's a no-brainer. And who's the other no-brainer, TJ?
E-Man.
He's in the building.
Hey.
I've been waiting to do the E-Man He-Man sound too, so we've knocked off 2 in one day.
The radio station right there. Look at that.
Hey, what's going
The sultry sounds of E-Man.
In my little corner of the YouTube world, it doesn't matter what's happening, whether it's the newest DC movie, if it's the newest Marvel movie, if it's the newest television show, if it's newest this, and everyone's talking about it. These 3 are still always talking in some way, shape, fashion, or form of what's going on with Transformers. They have one of the biggest, like my passion for DC. You can see that same passion and love with these 3 guys. So I wanted them there, and especially after just hearing Izzy how passionate he is for just movies in general and how he just enjoys this fandom. Like, go bring her.
There it goes. There it
There we go.
goes.
Look at that. We got a battle of the Optimuses.
There it goes.
Look at little baby Optimus right there. Look at that.
So let's dive into it. So first off, I do want to go around the horn. We're 10 minutes in real quick. I do want everyone's just generic, like however you rate things. Like I was saying, so for me, this movie was green. This was a solid green movie. It wasn't super green. It wasn't peak because there's always room for improvement for most things for me. And but dude, I absolutely loved it. I had a ball from start to finish. It was just a good time all around for me. Paul, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I would give it. I'd give it 8 out of 10 rings. I think. I had. You and I talked before. Now I'm going to say some things, but let me finish, okay? Before you guys get all over me. Some of the dialogue, like Optimus Prime's dialogues, seems like it was written by like a 5-year-old. It's the whole thing of there's a stereotypical thing of something's coming through the portal and we have to close the portal before it comes through and everything. That's kind of like a trope that's used a lot. But having said all that, I loved this movie. I love the fact that those were there. It was like that's what I expect in a Michael Bay movie. That's what I want. So I would give it an 8 out of 10.
TM?
Not a Michael Bay movie.
Oh, he produced this.
He produced it.
I'll touch on that a little bit later. He's a name.
Yeah, he's producer by name.
Yeah, he's producer
only by name. Just like how Bryan Singer would be a producer, accredited producer on anything Marvel comes out with the X-Men. Because
I don't think it's fair to compare anyone to Bryan Singer, Kevin Spacey. There's a few other people.
Okay, so Michael Uslet to Batman.
I don't
know that name, Michael Uslet.
Are you talking to me?
But Michael Uslet to Batman. He's produced everything Batman based. How much input is he really doing?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Izzy, how many Izzies you give this one?
So I already rated this. Travis didn't give it. Yeah, Travis didn't give it.
How many rabbit holes do you give this one?
I give it 8.5 all sparks to 10.
All right, Izzy, how many Izzies did?
So as I mentioned beforehand, the movie is a fun movie. It's not a perfect movie. The dialogue is a bit cheesy. There's a lot of inconsistency, especially when it comes to the music. But overall, it is a fun, enjoyable movie that you could watch from beginning to the end and just have a good time watching the movie. So I'm giving this baby 4 out of 5 Izzies.
Nice. TJ, I think this is where it might get a little more critical here on the last two here, that's what I want. I want that critical.
It's going to be 4.68, carry the 1.
Right. He gets it pie. He gets it pie.
So I have, if I wanted to have nitpicks, I have nitpicks. But in terms of just going down, sitting, watching a Transformers movie, enjoying myself, laughing, maybe having a few feelings, I'll go till all are 8.
Till all are 8. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. We'll go with a solid 8. It has its problems. This is gonna sound blasphemous, probably especially to you, man. But I think letting Optimus talk as much as he did may be a hindrance. I think he needs, in my opinion, needs to kind of be a little more silent type and weigh in at the important parts. But like I said, those are nitpicks.
Yeah, this was very much his movie as much as it was Mirage's.
So this is also when it comes to, like, I watched it Thursday night. I know we watched it like Thursday, Friday kind of thing. Paul, you watched it day before yesterday. Eman is hot off the press.
I just came out of it, you guys. I just watched it just about 2 hours ago. Came out of it, went and talked to went with my cousin. we went and grabbed something to eat right afterwards. We sat down, we talked about it. We're like, how do you feel about this? He's like, man, honestly, I don't know. There were some things that I liked. There were some things I didn't like. And him and I grew up in the 80s. Like this is our cartoon. This is what we grew up on, G1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I didn't really watch Beast Wars all the way through. I did watch most of it. You know, I couldn't get past the animation, but I totally respect the love that Beast Wars has. And I'm never knocking Beast Wars because it is a Transformer property. It just wasn't my generation, you know. Given everything that we got in this movie, I had so many good moments, so many times where I was just grinning from ear to ear. And then there was other moments where I was kind of like cringe, like, ooh, should Optimus have said that? You know, is Mirage talking too much here? You know, did we get enough Optimus Primal? And it was kind of like, you know, it was kind of up and down. So for me watching the movie, it was like, oh, dude, that was cool. And then certain parts I kind of got bored in, and other parts like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then kind of get down and, oh, cool, they said that one thing. And then they said that one thing, and there they go saying it again. Like, why, you know? So overall for me, personally, I think Bumblebee is a better movie, and I will give this one a 7 out of 10.
That's still a really, really good score. So I do have some questions just for everybody who's here, because I got a whole bottom panel filled with Gen 1 knowledge right now. And I've got TM up there with the Beast Wars knowledge. Where does this movie fall in terms of like accuracy to the source material? What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, does it like fit with canon, like what they've set up, or
in canon with Beast Wars?
It's a little bit of a mesh, I'll say.
Yeah, it's definitely has its Michael Bayism into it, right? So you have that. It has the Michael Bayism. It has respect for G1, though it's not repeating G1.
Yeah,
that's probably a good way of looking at it. So he respects what was done in G1, but doesn't repeat G1.
I'm with Izzy on that right there, because there were certain images that were brought forth to us that were G1 specific. For example, Mirage in G1. Is that RC?
That's RC, baby.
My daughter's name RC. That's why I'm like,
that's the Smurfette of the Transformers universe.
I love it. So, like, there's imagery that they gave to us that go back to G1. For example, Unicron's design, from what we saw, was very, very Michael Bay, but G1 respective, and I really enjoyed that. Mirage threw me off because in G1, the Porsche is Jazz. Yeah. But while he was introducing himself, he was like, well, I can be this card. I could be that card. I could be that card. He actually transformed into the Formula One car that Mirage is in the G1 cartoon. Nice. And I thought that was a nice little touch.
That's cool. That's nice.
I did not think of, now that you say that, it pops. I did not think of it when he was doing it. It didn't jump out to me that that's what he was doing. Yeah. But now that you say that, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
It definitely respected a lot of the G1. It definitely said, hey, G1 fans, we recognize that you're watching this too, by throwing stuff like that. So I respected that they did that. Like what Izzy said, this was G1. They paid their respects too.
Mm-hmm. I will say, and I get.
Hell no.
I was wondering, and I was wondering what Dr. Von Hoop would think, because I know he's a G1 guy, and he's not letting Michael Bay and the Bayism slip past him at all. But I was wondering because E-Man brought it up when I was watching the movie. You should feel special. I was watching the movie, and at some points especially during the final fights, when Optimus is talking to Scourge, like, I wonder what E-Man is thinking, right? Because I know how you feel about his dialogue and conflict. Mm-hmm. I'll say it like that.
So TM, weigh in on the canon for the Beast Wars characters here, because that's kind of your
special. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah,
knowing what I know about the Beast Wars,
they've never gone to Earth for one, so that was totally new for what they were doing. Like, they did come from another world, and
what?
What's going on?
Wait, I thought they were on Earth because they found the Transformers in the Ark.
Well, they stated that it was a different world. It wasn't the world that we're known for. Like it was a totally different world. It gets confusing a lot of the time. So the way I looked at it at the beginning is that they came off that world and came onto Earth.
Yeah.
Which is funny that you say that, because now I'm thinking
in
about
the beginning of that movie, because like they did find them in stasis. I think it was season 3. They found the D1 Transformers, but they still said it wasn't Earth. It was a distant off planet, but it wasn't Earth. It was designed like Earth.
Pretty much the planet they were on in the show is the one that Unicron eats in the opening.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
But they pretty much took the Beast Machines and gave them G1's origin in that way, because pretty much in G1 they got there during prehistoric age and they just stood there.
Yeah,
right.
And
then
that's what I got out of that too.
So that was taking a G1 origin and flipping it to Beast Wars.
That's cool.
What I really wanted to know, and I don't know if there's an explanation for this.
I guess they were on Earth. I'm not the Beast Wars fan, I guess.
I'm still going to defer to you story wise, TM. For
they were on Earth 1610. Okay, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, because I know in the Netflix movies that people may or may not have watched, towards the end, the two factions meet, and I guess Optimus Primal and the Maximals kind of knew of the Autobots. Is that how it goes?
The Maximals definitely knew about the Autobots.
Yeah, the Maximals were descendants of the Autobots. Like the Maximals were descendants of the Autobots, and the Predacons were descendants of the Decepticons. And that's why like Optimus Primal was named after Prime, and then Megatron, the T-Rex, Megatron was named after Megatron from the Decepticons. And what happened is they go back in time, and that. So they're the future of the Transformers, but they went back into the past. So like it even states it in the movie. Air Razor, I think it was Air Razor was explaining it, and Mirage was like, "Wow, that's confusing." And then that's why I get trying to explain it to a lot of people that don't know about Beast Wars. They're like, "Wow, that's confusing."
I was wondering if the Maximals in the movie had time travel, because Optimus Primal says that he gets his thing from Optimus Prime.
The only person
but also
it's Hot Rod. I stopped the time.
but also they I don't know, existed before. It's hard to say if they existed before the actual Autobots, because they're on different planets.
Yeah, in the movie, like again,
I felt like they may or may not have used the thing to time travel once or twice.
Did they comment that they made almost like when they were explaining who they are? They said we're an offshoot of y'all, kind of thing.
They're descendants.
Yeah.
In the movie,
the confusing part about the movie. Now, this is part of the continuity issue that I have with the movie, because in the movie they say, "Well, in a way, we're actually your past and your future," and they were referring to the time warp key, right? It was almost like
they've used.
We're supposed to know that was used as time travel, but they never really touched on the story behind it.
No, in all sincerity, it made me think of, and this is just coming from what I know here. I have no context to any of this stuff outside of this movie, outside of the string of movies. So this is pretty much the Michael Bay verse doesn't even have any bearing on this. So it's really just Bumblebee in this movie. But when they were talking about who they were, and they're talking like we're an offshoot of y'all that is travel through it made me think of Man of Steel when they start talking about how way back in the past we had a group of us that left Krypton, that went and colonized. That's where they got the Earth engine that Zod got a hold of to use as a weapon later. But there's Kryptonians like all through the galaxy. Like that's what it made me think of, that at some point in time the Autobots sent factions of themselves out into the universe for different reasons, and that was one of the factions that went out and I guess over time became the Beast Machine.
And I feel like now that we're talking about it, it kind of could make. They didn't explain it like this, but it could make sense because you feel like the Maximals you feel like had already been on the run from Unicron for a while, so they may have time hopped and time warped up 2 or 3 or 4 times trying to dodge Unicron up until the time the Scourge caught them and they had to either fight or flight. But it feels like they could have been on the run from Unicron for time.
They just prevented Unicron from coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah,
it wasn't that they stopped. They just said, let's just put this away in a safe spot, and he won't come over here. That's pretty much what they did.
But also, Scourge and all his merit badges makes it feel like that they've been doing this for a while,
a long time.
Like Unicron has been after this thing and sending Scourge after people. Yeah, and that's the other time travel aspect is that I don't know if he's been sending them after, because I'm pretty sure he's got. If I go back, he's probably got a couple of Maximals, 2 or 3 Autobots or whatever. And if they don't exist in the same time, then Scourge has had to travel across time
to try badges, right? Badges for everybody.
And it never really dawned on me to think of time travel or anything, but when you're doing like that kind of distance and space stuff, like time is affected. But it also just, in my mind, like Transformers is like just a long time span thing to begin with. You know what I mean? Like how long do these guys live? It's like it goes back to like dinosaur era because we've been introduced to the legendaries and stuff like that. And even in the Michael Bay stuff, they showed us like the bombs being dropped on the dinosaurs, making the Transformium. So in my mind, Transformers are just deep time storytelling to begin with. So it isn't like a lifespan like us, right?
No, there's a lot of time travel, a lot of space travel. Paul mentioned the MacGuffin that's going to get you from point A to point B in space.
There's always a MacGuffin for
that. But there's almost always some kind of space bridge type machine that's going to get you from one end of space to the other end of space. That's been a staple in Transformers since the first season.
Yeah, that's how they got their energon from Earth to Cybertron. Was they were using the space bridge. You know, that's how they transferred up for it.
If you ever read the original comics, this Transformer Straxus, and then I'll stop derailing us. But this Transformer Straxus creates the space bridge, but it's literally like a bridge, like you would see from in San Francisco or in Brooklyn. Like it's a literal bridge.
No, my favorite part is that they have the energon cubes and they put them like in a hand truck. And they're just hand trucking them out. Hey, here we go. Got some energons here.
No, I also like
the original.
I also like it in the original where they fill up like these invisible cubes with like oil, and then they press them down like they're pillows, and then all of a sudden they're like energon cubes. Oh, thanks, Red.
This is AJ.
That's Red. Red controls the.
I was about to say it looks like Red's words, but I saw the. I didn't see Red in the name. AJ gave Red the controls to the brand name.
Yeah, we did.
That's fantastic.
I was like, please do your worst for the love of God. Do your worst. Get people.
Dude, that's amazing. That is awesome. So for those that don't know, E-Man is part of the crew from the C-List Villains podcast that you can find them on all major podcast platforms, as well as right here on the YouTube if you're like me and you're a one-trick pony.
Red, I have the power. Look at it.
But it's a great trick.
All right, so let's swing it back over to the movie. Plot-wise, this was like we said, y'all kind of got a piece of it. Unicron is coming. He's eating up planets all Galactus style. It opens up with him tearing up the Beast Machine's planet, and they escape to Earth. Then we move to Earth, and we kind of get introduced to our plot from there. And our main driving motive is the new human character named Noah, played by Hamilton's very own, I forget his name, something Ramos, right?
Yeah, Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos, fantastic actor. I actually recognize him from Hamilton and Godzilla King of the Monsters because he was on the military team in that.
Important, we're told it's 1994.
The Heights. Also, he was in The Heights.
Heights, that's a good one. Yeah, and this movie set in 1994. So we get introduced.
Set in 1994, but everything was not from 1994.
This is point of
I
contention.
didn't say that. I said it was very particular. I said it was set in 1994.
Set in 1994.
It says it was 1994.
I was pretty happy with the character because normally it's been like we've had Shia LaBeouf or we had Mark Wahlberg, which I enjoyed Mark Wahlberg's character, but this was kind of a different take. It's a young man. He's kind of burned out from the military and he's trying to find employment to really like help his family. He has a little brother who's sick. Yeah, I think they said he had sickle cell, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to get a job and help with this. Medical bills are piling up. They can't really get help, and he kind of just falls into the right place at the right time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What y'all think of our human character in this one?
That kid,
I want to speak on this character, like, because we know for a fact that he was ex-military. He doesn't work with the teams and that's what the whole movie was like about. It's like them coming together, the Autobots working with the humans, working with the Maximals and that. And so it was a driving point. It said that at the beginning. You have this character that we grew with, that we went to like. And Marvel, I hope you're watching. Kevin Feige, I hope you're watching this, because like this is how you set up a character. Because spoilers, guys, like he will probably be in a different franchise, not Transformers, but something setting up in the future. And that's how you set up a character. I'm just saying, this is how you set up a character.
I see what you're trying not to say there, GM.
Yeah.
I personally,
what's up?
He was great.
Yes.
Noah was a good character. I'm not going to say he was great, but he was definitely not useless. You know, and that I appreciated that about the human element in this movie. What I don't like is that we get another story. All right, this is me just being minority, you know, but the fact that, you know, he's another kid, he can't find a job, he's down on his luck, he's in the hood, he's trying to get out. I'm just like,
he's fixing cable boxes. That was a thing.
That was
I want to see more of that, man. I want more of
modifying those black boxes. I know I had a black box in the 80s.
I know. I used to work for Cablevision. I know all about those boxes.
Skinemax.
Get that button, hit that button, get that thing, get that screen right.
But I just, why did the minorities have to have parents that were like single moms, or like a dad that was, not around or anything like that? I'm like, that right there kind of bothered me. I'm like, dude, why don't you just show us a kid that's like good in school and has a good family? Why do we have to go back to this? It was one of those things where I'm like, I've already seen this and I've seen it throughout the 90s. Give me something where it's more positive, where he is a good kid with a good upbringing and a good family. Like show me something positive. Like I didn't want to see that again. And that was just a small little thing that I didn't like about his.
Do you think that was because they were intentionally trying to run the 90s trope with it? That's what I assumed. Because we just saw Miles Morales, where you have like the mom who we own property in Brooklyn. I'm about to be the chief of police. Like it's not the trope nowadays, but it was then when the movie was set. Mm-hmm. So if they didn't do that, wouldn't people be like, saying the exact same thing, the opposite?
Well, that was the thing. I was about the kid being sick, right? They were throwing that thing like he's not going to get any medical bills. I'm sorry. They live in New York City. The boy's on Medicaid. He don't need to pay the bills. He's on Medicaid, right? That was stupid. No, Medicaid is still a thing even now. But even then, man, the kid would have had some kind of health insurance. That part is completely unreal because he would have been taken care of. He's like, oh, yeah, we got Medicaid. Let's just give him the card. You know what I mean? Get the food stamps later. I'm just saying, that's the way it would have been. He didn't need help.
I'm very much on.
Didn't Denzel Washington have a whole movie about holding a hospital up because he couldn't get health care for his kid?
Yeah, that was set in the 70s, I think.
John Q. I mean, like lack of health care.
No,
like,
that's
doesn't
BS,
happen to everyone.
Especially in the 90s.
It happened, doesn't it?
He would in New York City. He would have had health care.
Let's just throw this out there now. Apparently, America is known for healthcare now.
Hey, look, we got a cameo.
In the 90s,
John Q. That was the name of the movie. Yeah,
that's a great movie, especially that one scene when he like. There's one scene in that movie where he just says, "I don't know." It's like the greatest form of acting I've ever seen in a movie from Denzel. That one moment when he's just talking to him, he doesn't know what to do. So it's a good movie. But yeah, the kid would have been taken care of.
Yeah, but there's also music from the future and transforming robots. I think I got off over the healthcare thing.
That's very true.
That's the whole reason
Totally
why this movie
unbelievable.
didn't get 5.
Who would believe that no one has health care?
No, Prime definitely did not.
That is a negative.
Yeah,
No,
that
I
would
didn't see
be
it.
so weird. I
I
hope
would.
they never think that's necessary.
But I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
he
curse,
told,
I'm
he
just
told
thinking.
Mirage to effing transform already.
He told Mirage to get in the fucking car.
Open the effing door.
Right.
It would have been funny. It would have been
That
funny if he
was
would have said that to Mirage when Mirage brings Noah's in. He's like, "What the hell, man? Why are you bringing this kid over here?" But he would have cursed it with the top of the F-bomb right there. What the?
Yeah.
I mean, Optimus has been in New York long enough that I'm pretty sure he would have picked up on some of the,
Maybe not at
verbiage
this
there.
point though. That was one thing that we can shift over to Optimus. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought that this was one of the stronger points of the movie, and it caught me a little off guard at first. But spending just a little bit of time watching the movie, I'm like, yo, this is actually brilliant. So we've always seen and known Optimus to be like, I'm on Earth and I love Earthlings. I will protect Earthlings, 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 Earthlings. They're family, Earthlings. He's almost like Vin Diesel type with humans.
Family.
Pets or what? But in this one,
Heavy on the diesel.
he's not like that at all. The seventh live action movie, second installment in the franchise, and we see Optimus in a whole new light for a very first time, and actually get to see the character develop from the beginning of this movie to the end to that Optimus that, and see why he throws his hands on his hips and has like some of the like best rally calls and the best messages that we send these movies off on, and we get to see it happen in this movie because he's not a fan of people.
Yeah, and so
No one's getting in my truck.
and I can see this sticking in some old school fans' craw, because I was thinking the whole time that the thing I thought about Superman and Man of Steel, not to derail again, but I always thought that Clark and Man of Steel, I personally liked seeing him not be perfect Clark Kent at first, and then kind of go through some things and grow into the Clark Kent that we like to see. But a lot of people wanted to see Clark Kent right there in the moment. And it was the same with Optimus. Optimus, he's been on Earth for a few years, but he's missing home. He can't get home. There's a whole war he's supposed to be helping fight. They probably lost Cybertron because they're here. And he's grumpy and he wants to go home. And I kind of like seeing that. And then seeing Bumblebee stick up for the humans. Like, I don't agree with that, Prime. And he said something else. And then Prime told him to stop watching TV. Or whatever.
Keep in mind, like we mentioned earlier as well, like the span of from them showing up in Bumblebee to this movie is nothing for them. They're still like laser focused on we just got here. Let's regroup. Let's get home. That's still like that's happening.
The one thing I will say about Optimus is that I was fine with the character change in Optimus that way, where he was like, I want to go home. I'm tired. I'm just tired. That's pretty much he was. He was tired. The only thing I wasn't too crazy about this Optimus was that he didn't really care about humans. That's not Optimus like. You know what I mean?
And that's the thought I think that most people have. But I kind of lean the other way, whereas we have come to this new planet, and so he asked Bumblebee in the first movie. In the first movie, he asked Bumblebee to save Earth, not because of the Earthlings, but to save Earth, because if we lose Earth, we're gonna lose this war. And I like whether or not the dialogue was great or whatever. I kind of like Optimus being kind of finding his way in this movie from just focusing on Cybertron, so we can do this together and we can be together. And then we get to Optimus that we know, that we grew up with.
What did y'all like? Y'all are saying grumpy, this, that. I didn't see grumpy. I saw like laser focus on his mission. All he was trying to do was get his people back where they needed to be. It wasn't that he didn't care about humans. He had no reason to care about humans. Nothing has happened in his life yet on this planet that gave him a reason to care about humans. We saw his first real interactions with humans happening, and like that moment that actually stopped him long enough from trying to accomplish his mission of getting his direct family, friends, whatever, back home to the war, whatever, is seeing that, oh, Primal has my name, is sitting here for how long with these humans, protecting them and then protecting his secret.
Right.
I guess there's more to humans than meets the eye. So it made him pause long enough to actually
the name drop, right?
Right.
He had to
Motto
pause
drop.
long enough to actually see them for the first time. Is all it really was, in my opinion.
See,
Yeah.
and this is this is coming again.
Good question.
I'm the G1 guy. Optimus has always been the Boy Scout. He's always been the superhero. He's always been the hands on the hip. I'm going to save you. And seeing him defeated, deflated, seeing him grumpy, seeing him sad, pointing fingers at the humans, say, you know what? If I don't get to go home, it'll be your fault.
Yeah, that was rough.
That's not Optimus.
That's not my Optimus, and that's why I didn't really connect with Optimus.
He was humanized. He was humanized. That's what it was.
Right. But you got to your Optimus.
We got to my Optimus towards the end, but I didn't need to see him. I don't know. Maybe this is just me like holding on to my hero. Don't talk about my hero like that. He's not deflating. He's perfect.
Like I said before, I understand, and immediately I thought, yeah, this is gonna land like 50-50 with G1 fans on whether or not they want Optimus to be Optimus that they know from the jump, or whether or not they feel like taking this ride where Optimus isn't who we know him to be.
Yo, this was the
until
first
the end of
time
the
we
movie.
saw Optimus eat an entire humble pie. And I want people to wait on this. Let's talk about the villains a little bit here. This was our first introduction to the Terracons. We still have not seen Megatron proper yet. We've seen a couple of notable Decepticons in the opening of Bumblebee, and we had a couple that were a part of the main plot of the movie, but we didn't see any Decepticons at all in this film. Just the, 3-4 Terracons and the little lackeys that come with Unicron. But Scourge was the leader of the Terracons, and this dude was legit menacing. This was a great villain, and we saw for the first time Optimus running gung-ho, and I'm like, dude, how is this even going to be? I was sitting here like, how's this even going to be a movie if you're putting Optimus up against Scourge in the first fight? It's about to be over. And Optimus comes in with a swing, and he just stops it. Comes in with the axe, the iconic axe, and he just grabs it and backs Optimus down. And that line was like, how is this possible? This is my favorite part. I'm like, holy crap, this is legit. Like, I didn't know where we were going to go from there. What,
So,
legit?
yes.
And you call
Scourge
yourself a
was
prime.
Yeah, and you call yourself a prime.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Scourge's design, I'm not a big fan of. He looks like a Bionicle, but Scourge, the villain, he played Galvatron almost perfectly. You know, anyone who watched the original Transformer, the movie, this was a total incarnation of who Galvatron was. He was working for Unicron. He was out to grab something for Unicron instead of the Matrix. He was going out over for the
a little different because he was an actual servant, where Galvatron wasn't. Galvatron was always
he made him a servant.
He made him a servant, but he never wanted to submit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
would have gotten the trans warp key and said, I got this.
Yeah,
now.
I got this
what
now.
You gonna
what
do?
You gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Scourge, and he was more like his version in G1, where in the G1 movie, Scourge was just one of the sweeps, right? Where he was loyal. He was loyal to. He was literally Terrax. He was Terrax. From if Unicron was Galactus, Scourge was Terrax. He enjoyed what he did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the difference between him and Galvatron. Yes, he had the elements that would have been Galvatron, but Galvatron was all about himself, baby. You know, he was like, I'm the guy, not you, even though you made me now.
But we also don't know how Scourge was when he first was told to follow Unicron. Maybe he did try to break away. You know, we don't know that story. It's very.
I think he enjoyed it. I think he enjoyed it personally. The way he was having fun with this. He was having fun.
He talked his trash the whole movie.
Yeah.
He was talking until the end.
And then being powered by dark energy from Unicron.
Yeah.
And now for me, I got that from the Transformer Prime TV show because there was dark energy and elements in that one. And Unicron used that to influence other robots around him, whether they were Decepticons or just dead robots or whatever. I liked that. I thought that was a nice a nod to another Transformer lore. And then with them being that much more powerful than the Autobots, like I thought that was dope. They really did only need 3 in this group. And at first I was like, well, this doesn't seem like it's enough. But they were strong as heck. Sorry, I didn't see Finn there. I was about to cut.
You just got it.
but they were strong, and I liked how overpowering Scourge was over Optimus.
Yeah,
I liked that challenge, and Optimus needed that. That was really enjoyable to me.
Think of the movie.
I love that.
Who was your favorite?
All right.
Bumblebee.
See, yeah, right. And then
Airplane.
He did jump out there. It was so tight.
I'm not gonna lie, that scene was awesome.
that was pretty cool.
That was a badass scene.
Everybody on here
There was a lot of hoots and hollerings in my.
So, what did y'all think of the introduction to this film? Was called Rise of the Beast. It was not called Beast Wars or Beast Machines. And I'll be honest with you guys, that was one of my low points with the movie is the amount of Maximals that we got, because I was really the most excited for that addition to the franchise. And I think like I was a little bummed that there wasn't more of them, but I'm very happy with what we got, and I completely understand the format for it. And they really left it open to kind of let them be like potentially a mainstay in this franchise moving forward. I think it would be really stupid. I hope at some point they hear this. It'd be really stupid to back away from the Maximals in this franchise. It's what's going to set this franchise apart and make it be its own.
Yeah, I agree. I think. Oh, go ahead, E-Man. You first.
I was just gonna say I felt like Optimus Primal was probably the better leader in this.
Awesome.
He was amazing.
Awesome.
Now, again, like I didn't watch Beast Wars like TM did. I did watch some of it, and it felt like in the cartoon he was always trying to live up to Optimus, but in this movie he surpassed and was even who Optimus is supposed to be. You know, the absolute leader, the one who's going to take care of his team. And I loved Primal in this movie.
He served in this one more like a mentor to Optimus.
Yes,
right.
Tony.
Because he was like, no, dude, they're more than meets the eye. You know, that line, that famous line.
That was fantastic.
And the thing with him, what I was gonna say is that instead of this movie being called Rise of the Beast, I would have called it Introducing the Beast Machines.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it was. Like, here they are. Okay, let's not talk to them now. Let's just go back over here, right? Where
Just doesn't roll off the tongue like that, though.
Right, I know. So Primal had some legit screen time. Air Razor had legit screen time. The rest of them, they had cameos.
Yeah.
But they
had cameos. They weren't even allowed to. Some of them weren't even allowed to talk.
Yeah, Rhinox didn't have any
say anything,
speaking words, even though he has a voice actor attached to him. And
he had bad breath. That's what he had.
Cheetor had very little lines, and we only got to see them transform, including Optimus Primal, at the very end. And we didn't even get to see Air Razor transform at all.
Yeah, that moment was fantastic. There.
I loved it because they transformed just like they did in the cartoons with Cheetor flipping around and stuff. They did that with Optimus Primal's legs turning around. That was like in the cartoon as well. And I wish Rhinox had the Gatling gun, because usually he has like a machine arm and stuff. Like Rhinox, I don't know if you guys can see him right up there.
Ooh.
But what about the line? Tell me about how did you feel the moment that you heard the line? TM?
Maximals, maximize.
I got goosebumps. Especially when they like went all at once with that. It's just like Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal. Yeah.
The moment he said that, I was totally thinking about UTM and how I was, to me, that's how I imagine how everyone felt the moment that Captain America said, you know,
all I'm saying is I'm glad that there was nobody beside me, because I was full like, I was. My pants was tight.
It had a lot of moments.
We're all in the movies thinking, I wonder what someone else is thinking.
I wonder what my friend so-and-so is thinking.
So there was a comment earlier on in the chat that said I heard Bumblebee took a sideline in this movie. Bumblebee took a major sideline, which I think
Bumblebee took a nap. That's what he did. He was in.
He
straight up took a nap because he's lying in the rock like this, Then the Energon just turns him up, and he's like, "Okay, time to get up."
Yeah, so he saves Optimus in the first big battle against the Terracon. Scourge
Right.
kills Bumblebee, but one of the beauties of this franchise of Transformers is
And he made and when
Finn's
at the
favorite.
big ending, Bumblebee came back.
he did.
Spoilers.
And when he came back, he jumped out of the airplane in the big fight.
What did he do when he jumped out of the airplane?
He stopped.
He shot. Yeah, he did. He's sitting here smiling like this. He
went gangster on that moment, man. That's
he
straight
went
up gangster.
hard. So yeah, he saved Optimus. He died doing it. One of the cool things about Transformers is you can knock off characters, wonder if they're going to come back. We know Bumblebee's coming back, so it wasn't even about that. It's not like is Bumblebee going to come back? My whole thing, the whole movie is like, yo, when is he going to pop up? We can use.
Well,
this
that's
guy.
the thing. It's like in the trailer they show that scene, right? So when you see the trailer, you see the scene of him returning. It was like that was a straight up.
You know he was coming back. It was one of those things where you're like, all right,
okay, I haven't seen that scene. It's got to show up, you know.
And that's what happened with
scene in the trailer for Fan 4 Stick, Fantastic Four, where Ben Grimm drops out of an airplane. Wasn't in the movie.
I also wasn't the scene.
There's a lot of things that
like,
wasn't in that
this
movie.
isn't real. This isn't real. And then the RC was just kind of like waved. That was in the trailer. I don't remember that in the movie.
What's that? Which part?
The one where Elena's just like, this isn't real, and then she looks over and RC's like,
yeah.
I don't think that was in the movie.
No, it wasn't. But they did the same thing with the second Transformers movie. I forget the name of it. Revenge of the Fallen. When they kill Optimus at the first part of the movie. But I was thinking to myself, there's a couple of things in the trailer I haven't seen yet. Yeah. So maybe Optimus is, because I was in my feelings when they did that. I 86 came back to me.
Yeah, us G1 Transformer fans, we're like, if they're gonna kill Optimus in a movie, he's got to be gone for like the rest of the movie, and then he'll show up in another movie.
But then I'm like, but there's a couple of scenes I haven't seen yet. So maybe there's a chance.
Yeah, and I knew he was coming back. The minute that they were like, okay, is there a way to save him? Well, we need to get. They was like they was telling us he's coming back right at the beginning. They were like, yeah, he's coming back in some way. And we're telling you how they're foreshadowing his return.
Yeah, so we see him carrying Bumblebee from place to place. You kind of know that something that
it's not like they're gonna like, oh, he's dead. I guess we're gonna take him to a junkyard now and just toss him there. No, they take him to Peru.
With Dr. Von Hoot,
here's my thing though. Oh, go ahead.
Just Dr. Von Hoot points out it's like we needed screen time for Mirage, so I feel like Mirage was the one who took over for Bumblebee in this movie.
Oh, definitely.
They were like, we need to push him aside. We need to give him the sideline for this movie and that, and have him come back later.
Well, that's we need David, right?
We got to give David his paycheck.
If you really want fans to get an opportunity to get to like a character, to even have the chance to know if they like him, you have to take something out from in front of them. You really do. It's the same way with comics. If you want to give a character a fair shot, move some people over and give them an opportunity to win some fans over. If you don't give them a story, you can't just say, "Here's Mirage. You like him?" I don't know, but he was great.
Right, and Bumblebee is
Mirage died. Bumblebee came back.
In the live action era, Bumblebee has become the de facto number one. I don't know how people feel about that are G1 and close to G1 fans, but Bumblebee is now like the number one character in live action Transformers.
Yeah.
So like Mark said, if you're going to introduce a new character and get people to buy in, you're gonna have to move Bumblebee out of the way. Because
and Bumblebee in G1, Bumblebee was always he was always a fan favorite because he was Bumblebee, right? Because he was the one Transformer that was almost the same size as the humans, and that's kind of like what made him so relatable, I guess. Mm-hmm. But he was never like the main attraction. So if you watch the Transformers movie, he's the one Transformer from G1 that survived, right? But you know, he was just a fan favorite and stuff like that, but never had a lot of that. You know, he had his moments, but he was never second in command. He wasn't even third in command. He was just like, oh, that's just Bumblebee. He's just a soldier. That's pretty much how they treated him.
Yeah, the human companion part he plays now is the only part he kind of had in G1. He was the wiki companion pretty much.
Yeah, he was the same size as them. So
I do want to talk about just one thing about the actual Transformers movie.
Okay.
So last night, Izzy, I got a wild hair to fire it up. Like I said, I'm going to go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 before I watch the movie, but I still fired up the movie just to get a little taste of it and everything. You can watch it for free on YouTube. It's just there. And in the opening scene alone, I saw something that just made me laugh and excited because I saw it in Rise of the Beast. And you see Unicron come to a planet in the opening scene and decimate it. Then we move over to the actual Autobots on their moon base because they've been ran off Cybertron and they're getting all their ducks in a row. And there's one human there on a moon base off of Cybertron. Yep. And what's he wearing?
The exosuit.
The exosuit.
Exosuit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just fantastic. What I thought was awesome. We have not seen it in a Transformers movie yet. I had no clue it was coming. I had no idea that it was even a thing.
So, Mark, did you know how controversial that scene was
in this movie, or in the
G1 original movie? Do you know the reason why that scene in itself was so controversial?
The opening scene.
Yeah. No, the scene that Unicron is about to take the moon base and Spike is going with Bumblebee. You know why that scene is so? Yeah. That scene is extremely controversial for its era.
Hold on, is it controversial or just most talked about? Because it was
it was controversial because they took it off.
Let Mark find out that scene because I need for him to hear it for himself.
It sounds stupid now, but then it was a big deal.
Yeah, because it's a cartoon.
It was a cartoon in the 80s.
So do you know what they're talking about?
Most of the movie is controversial because it's supposed to be a kid's cartoon.
Yeah. Do you know what they're talking about, Mark?
I don't have a clue.
So so what they're saying in that scene, when Unicron is coming towards the base, you see Spike and Bumblebee. They shoot off all the missiles to try to stop Unicron, right? And Unicron, nothing happened to him. Spike's lines were, "It didn't even dent him." Oh shit! What are we gonna do now? The fact that
I didn't even get that far. I told you I just watched the.
It's a blink and you miss it moment.
Well, I didn't even get that far. Unicron hasn't made it there yet. Like, so in the opening, the Transformers get a plan and they start to fly off, and Megatron goes to intercept them. I got to the point where you first see Hot Rod and cut off.
Gotcha.
I wasn't trying to watch it. I was just trying to get like a little. I was just trying to scratch an itch. You know what I mean? I didn't want to ruin the movie.
No, but that scene was such a big deal that they cut it. It was in the movie, but when they put it on video, they changed the line. That's and I think they might even cut it because the movie got a PG rating, and at that time, cartoons didn't get PG ratings like that.
It's PG. Whoa, yeah, it was a big thing.
It was a PG in the sense that it was PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13 didn't exist really back then.
At that time, it was just
Indiana
starting.
Jones was the first one, right? Indiana Jones and Last
Crusade. 86 was like just starting PG-13. So that movie would have probably gotten a PG-13, but it eventually got that PG rating.
As a father with kids, like when my kids watch stuff like Transformers: Rise of the Beast and they hear words that they know are adult words, they don't repeat them, but let them hear that said in one of their cartoon properties, and like, oh, they just gave me the green light.
Yeah, it was one of those moments that when if you caught it, you like, he just said what he said, Mom. And like, yep.
Yeah, I remember my mom was like, "Did he just say what I think he said?" I'm like, "What, Mom? I'm here eating my popcorn at 8 years old. It's a great movie." She's like, "Okay, you didn't hear him?" No, I just know.
What is that? So by the end of this movie, Scourge decimates Mirage, who's covering up our human Noah, so that Scourge doesn't kill him, and he's just shooting him to pieces, and he pretty much looks like he dies, and he kind of gets a little bit of life back into him. And he tells Noah, is like, you're gonna have to take the wheel from here, kid. And he like basically breaks down. Yeah, explain the scene here, because it's just, to me, it's like Iron Man sending a suit to Pepper kind of thing.
So that never really happened.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, in G1, like in seasons 3 and 4, we got introduced to like the headmasters and the weapon masters and stuff like that. And this is where the humans actually got these exosuits, and these aliens got these exosuits. They would transform into like weapons or heads for the Transformers. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Also, it reminded me of Daniel's exosuit or Spike's exosuit in the G1 cartoon movie, which was a nice nod. Now the whole thing of Mirage turning himself into that suit for Noah. That's this movie. That's this movie's idea.
But then with Mirage being like a quadruple octo changer or whatever, you can see Mirage of all Transformers being able to kind of send his parts off or whatever, because he's already changing into dump trucks and all kind of other stuff. Like what Mirage is just doing everything.
I do want to say the design of it and everything with the helmet, with the clear shield, it looked incredibly retro. Like, I think it fit the tone and the vibes. And when that happened, I'm like, yo, what? Like, cause we're 7 movies in, didn't know that was a thing. Like, I'm like that. I thought that was ridiculously cool. And it really, to me, that final battle only got better from there too. Like with the things that they did now that Noah was in play. I'm like, oh my God.
And dude, that suit is hardcore because he was holding Optimus with that suit. He's like, come on.
Yeah. Yo, that was a catch. I'm like,
my wife looked over that and asked me, was is that a thing? Is that and I'm like,
that's definitely
it's called an exosuit. They do have those. It didn't quite work like that before, but it exists. It's
the one thing for me was the moment that he got the exosuit. I was just like, okay, when is he going to transform into his own little car, like what Daniel?
Oh, that's
did?
right, with the car.
I was waiting for him to just turn into the little car.
Daniel should have broken like 30 bones when he transformed. Daniel's elbows went all kind of different ways, and
they did.
Daniel had to be contortionist to survive.
They probably, the way the suit was made, it kind of went like he was like this, and he just went like that. Kind of, kind of like with Batman in the Batmobile, the way he goes down.
But maybe, but when he had to shoot down the vat at the end of the movie to save his dad and the other Autobots, his elbow definitely had to turn the other way.
Yeah,
to shoot.
When he shot the suit. That's right. You're right. All right.
But that's the funny thing I never understood about these movies is that they have the human element, and in G1 we had the human element with Spike and his dad. I always forget his dad's name. And then you had Spike and Daniel in the movie. Moving on to G2, I never understood why they never included an actual Spike in a movie. Like, you got the character there, why not make him? I never understood that. Sparkplug was the dad's name.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh,
Sparkplug.
No wonder
I
why I
forgot about Sparkplug.
I don't know.
It would have been cool to have the actual humans the only humans that interacted with the Transformers in the cartoons, which was always weird to me.
You're asking why
Dr. Van Hoop brought up a good point. Did they use because they used Buster in the comics? Did they ever use Buster in the cartoons? I don't remember.
Which one's Buster?
Yeah, I don't think Buster was ever in the cartoon.
I think Buster was Buster the dad or the son in the comics. Buster may have been the dad in the comics. Yeah. I think in the Marvel comics. I don't remember if they used Buster in the cartoon though. I think it was Sparkplug and Spike.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Sparkplug and Spike. Yeah.
Okay. And then Daniel was, I guess, the grandson.
And I love Sparkplug, man, because he was like a slightly overweight dad. So he was like the epitome of a dad. He looked like he had a dad bod too.
There's one thing I noticed from watching that opening to the OG cartoon movie is the transformation sound effects. Michael Bay brought that over into the live action franchises and made it something extremely even more iconic. That sound is so specific to like the cybernetic metal shifting, the actual sound ticks in between it and everything, and that's present in the cartoon, and it was present in this one. And I think that this one brought some of the best actual transformation sequences, including bar none the best transformation sequence hands down I've seen with that final Optimus
That
transformation.
breakdance Optimus.
At
Yeah, Optimus.
the end of the movie, when he's in full Optimus form, and like you were talking about, the explosion was happening, the portal was closing, Optimus sacrificed himself, he was getting pulled into it. Noah, wearing the exosuit, catches him. He's like, "Nah, we're in this together," kind of thing, and he
All in one.
all to one, and like he fires up the thrusters and everything. The feet latch onto the ground. He's doing everything, and when they actually hit some traction, and Optimus spun, and like the back end of the truck comes at the camera and around and stuff, and it locks into place, and Noah's already on his back with the thrusters going. The entire theater popped again. Everyone's like, "We couldn't."
No, that was definitely homaging Michael Bay in the camera movement thing, because that's a Michael Bay-ism thing. But at the same time,
and they brought
it made
back
it clear, right? Because I mentioned this when we were in the show yesterday, Mark, how in every single Transformer movie prior to this one, and maybe even so with Bumblebee, I never understood who was fighting who because it was just so confusing to look at. This movie, I knew exactly who was fighting, and because it was clear.
Their designs weren't as intricate.
Overly, exactly. It wasn't as overly complex.
Done. Optimus's design still held on to that Bay, Bionicle type of look, but he still had the very genuine G1 look, and even his
the grill as a chest.
And even his transformation into the truck. With his legs going back and then his arms going to the side, like how it was in G1. Like, it was very true to how he transformed in G1. And that's what I also like. They didn't have all the moving parts like they did in the Bayformers, all the little things. He did it. He did transform with a little bit of that extraness, I guess you can say.
Yeah, y'all been complaining about Michael Bay transformations. I watched a grown-ass robot turn into a handgun that someone else held last night.
Notice how small he got when he did it.
Let's pick our battles here, people.
How violent it was too.
Oh, what do you think of the transformation, some of the fight sequences compared to what we've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, I again, I wasn't a huge Transformers guy when I was growing up, but it was very easy to see who was, the way that they were transforming and everything. It was very easy to see, you didn't get lost in, who was Scourge and who was, Optimus Prime when they were fighting and everything. My big question for everyone here, if we're ready to talk about that, is the ending.
We haven't even hinted.
We haven't talked about the ending, right?
Go ahead, Paul.
So my question is, are you excited for the ending? I'm a little bit concerned because although Paramount has shown that they can do a really good and a lot of good Transformers movies to the tune of billions of dollars, they have not shown that they can do good G.I. Joe movies, or at least G.I. Joe movies that people want to see yet.
And this is what I was talking to my cousin about. It's like G.I. Joe was a good thing for me growing up because, number one, it was violent. There was a certain kind of violentness that we were able to watch. And it was really violent compared to a lot of the cartoons that kids watch nowadays, right? But what I liked was the how diverse G.I. Joe was too. You didn't have soldiers. There was a native person wearing with feathers. Like there was just a certain
very stereotyped character.
Racism was a thing in that show, but it was okay because the stereotype
one black character
and the way that one black character talked to, hey, what's going on, brother? It's like, why does he gotta talk like that? Why is he gotta be all jive and shit? But that was the cool thing about G.I. Joe, was that it was that diverse, that they were trying to cater to everyone in the household, every person, and that's what I liked. But are we excited for this movie and for them to touch on this? I don't know, because the last 3 G.I. Joe movies, trash.
Okay, here's my take. I think
Snake Eyes.
Yeah. Here's what I say. Yeah, with Snake Eyes, okay.
I forgot about Snake Eyes. I hadn't even seen that one yet.
So did everybody else. I think with the introduction of G.I. Joe, because I knew it was coming, especially the way they put it together. The only thing that we're missing was for the guy giving him the interviews to say, you know what, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah,
and that was the only thing missing, right? That line.
Cool.
that line. But the minute they showed the business card and he flipped it, I'm not gonna lie, I popped.
Mhm.
I had a Road Warrior pop moment when I saw that logo.
Road Warrior pop. Lord.
I was like, yeah, and then some people are like, but I was like, G.I. Joe and Transformers should always go hand in hand in some way, even though in the cartoons they never really met. But in the comic books, that one scene where that cover of issue 1 of G.I. Joe Transformer when Bumblebee's being blown up into smithereens, that is an iconic piece.
Yes.
Right? And I am so happy to have that entire collection in my disposal.
I am so angry that I passed it up trying to squeeze an extra $1 or $2 of value out of grabbing those books
for $2, bro.
I'm pretty sure I passed them up for a total of like $10, trying to lowball somebody else. And now I'm pretty sure lowball won't come back for a few years.
For $2 now, right?
So Dr. Von Hoot makes a comment here, and me and Izzy have talked about this a lot here recently. He says, no, not at all excited. Talking about the G.I. Joes. It just means Transformers even more derailed by humans. For me, being just a movie guy, Transformers and humans go hand in hand. I am an actual fan of Josh Duhamel because of the character he portrays in the entire franchise of Linux. He's our Luther from Mission Impossible. He's the one person you can count on to always be in the movies, and you're always tense, like, please make it through this movie. Please don't be the one where this is your final film and they kill you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they could have called that team G.I. Joe, and it would have been the exact same movie. It would have never been different. Not a single shot different. And Izzy made the perfect comment. Yo, they missed the boat with the last
John Cena would have been perfect as a Joe.
He looks like a G.I. Joe.
Because when I saw that's what I thought.
He could still come back, though, and be hired by G.I. Joe, because they did make reference that the Bumblebee, because when Optimus Prime is talking with Bumblebee, he's like, yes, I know you met one good human, and they're talking about Haley Steinfeld's character.
Yeah.
So that was a direct tie-in. So he could still come back as a Joe.
No, I'm sure they'll probably bring him back.
He needs to be Duke.
Well, I don't know if he'll be Duke,
or
but
bring back Channing Tate-Young.
But my question is, you like Transformers, you can like G.I. Joe, but will the two of them together work?
What do you think?
I think
I don't
it will
think
work.
you can force it. I want if it happens.
I agree.
If it happens, I want it to happen once. Maybe you sprinkle them in with each other every once in a while, but I want there to be a cataclysmic event where they both find out they need each other, and we do it in one movie. Don't drag it out 3 or 4 movies and
in my mind,
one element mess the other one up.
Do a
G.I. Joe v Transformers. You know what I'm saying?
We just introduced Beast Wars or the Beast Machines into the fray here. We need to not overpack a story. So I think just letting us know that they exist in the same universe is more than enough. I don't think that this means the next movie is a big crossover, even though that's probably what they'll do, to be honest with you. But if they can, like, Snake Eyes didn't work, you have to start from scratch again with G.I. Joe. But that's okay. You see, like, what the actual fan reaction and the positive reaction, the numbers might not be what they were during the Bayverse, but you have to rebuild a franchise. And they're seeing that they're doing it right. You just have to convince people to see it with these good interactions. If they can do another standalone G.I. Joe that says, like, drop one line in there about the events in Peru with the robot.
And I think it has to feel organic. It has to feel like it's right. It can't feel like you're just horseshoeing, the G.I. Joe people into the Transformers world.
Here's the thing: instead of using Nest in the Bayformers, right? Instead of using that faction, that military faction to watch and work with the Transformers, they should have just used G.I. Joe then.
Well, no, they had G.I. Joe already in the movie. The G.I. Joe was always consistently in the movie because you got to believe they wanted to have that crossover beforehand, right? That crossover was bound to happen eventually. The only thing is, I don't think it's going to be the next movie either. I think what they should do is kind of the same way what they did here, introduce the Joes as a thing rather than it's a G.I. Joe Transformer thing. You get my point? So what they did here was they introduced the Beast Machines more as a thing it's a Transformers movie. Let's face it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
a Beast Machines movie. It's a Transformers movie, and yeah, again, it's the rise of them, right? Funny
Yeah.
now, I'm thinking about Rise of Cobra.
They were the best characters.
Yeah.
I just caught something here. So introducing the Joes, I believe they did miss the opportunity in Bumblebee because that was more clear a
Mhm.
GI Joe thing than this one would have been. But what I would like to see is the connection, the kinetic thread, right? Where there's no way they're gonna make a GI Joe movie right now. I'm sorry,
No.
it just ain't happening. They flopped. Every single one of them is a hot piece of garbage because they never understood it.
I loved Retaliation, man.
Oh,
I
first
love
of all,
that movie.
the
I
first
like
movie,
the first. I like the Rise of Cobra. Tell you the truth.
I enjoyed that one too, but to be honest with you, The Rise of Cobra is a writer's strike film also.
yeah, that is a writer's strike. But the Rise of Cobra was one of those movies that I legitimately was telling my wife as we were watching, like, I want to get out of the theater because this movie sucks.
Well,
And I
here's the
didn't
thing,
rise because I had people with me.
I
they
think
did a
those
kind of
movies would have
soft
been better.
reboot with Bumblebee, and I feel like after they just set up Noah and him being connected with G.I. Joe, going to be probably the character that we know if they do a soft reboot for G.I. Joe and stuff. We know this character now. Everybody that grew with this character, that liked this character, is definitely going to probably go watch G.I. Joe and that and see this character's introduction to the Joes, and that's what I feel like it should be. And that's what I hope it will be. And I hope that they do that with G.I. Joe and soft reboot it, and that everything that we knew from the previous G.I. Joes, and that's in a different universe.
Well, that's the thing.
Kind of the question now. That now that you think about it, like Anthony Ramos is clearly about to be a Joe.
He is. He's going to be a Joe.
What call sign do you think he'll be a known Joe, a recognizable Joe?
He should be called Cable Box.
Is this our
His name will be Hamilton.
A black box.
call sign Hamilton?
Wait. Who was the technical communication Joe?
Oh man, it's probably so cliche too, man, because they didn't think hard on their names. I don't remember.
Because there was at least one or two technical communication type Joes there.
Yeah.
Who I'm sure he's gonna slide into that. Maybe slide into that.
Mainframe.
Mainframe.
There you go.
Was that tech
Now we got to go watch the movie again to see if he ever gets called mainframe in some way. It's a possibility. But the funny thing is,
and Dalto too. That's right. That's right.
So here's the one thing they could do with the Joes. The thing with the Transformers was that there was always an origin to the Transformers, how they get to Earth and things like that in G1. G.I. Joe never really had an origin story. They were kind of like always there, right? There's a transition, obviously, with the G.I. Joe movie, which is, again, another movie like Transformers movie that's really good that everybody should watch.
But they also changed because of Transformers.
Well, there was again, it was one of those reasons too, right? But but G.I. Joe never had a true origin. It was like, it's just a special organization within the military. That's all it was.
Yeah, I always felt like G.I. Joe was all of the military, like the best of all of the military.
Yeah, they were the special forces. That's what they were, right?
Yeah.
The special forces. So they never really, there was really never really an origin. They just existed. They all have their call signs. It was just it was propaganda. Let's face it. Let's call it what it is. It was propaganda, guys. So
Breaker was the name of the tech guy in Rise of Cobra.
Yeah. So I think what they should do with this is keep it that way. We don't need a let's make G.I. Joe a thing. Now we're gonna start this group. They had the opportunity with Bumblebee. They blew it. Just they're Joes. What we do need to see is I hate to say it, the actual rise of Cobra being an actual threat. And not just it being his girlfriend's baby brother. You get what I'm saying?
So everyone is. Oh, are we missing sultry email? Did I miss it?
What? No, go ahead.
Did I talk about sultry email?
Oh no, go ahead. No,
It
please.
should have been Mask. Oh no.
Mask. Dude,
Yeah, I heard that
I don't know
too.
words to the theme song, but I love Mask theme.
Ionic 6. That should.
Bionics thing.
But no,
So-
I do think that you can get away with if not being the force that creates the Joes, kind of having the Bumblebee movie be the force that kind of propels the Joes in a different direction or whatever.
Well, that's why
And
John Cena is
you said,
perfect.
I don't think that necessarily needs to show up in Bumblebee, but I think you can definitely have Bumblebee be a pivot point, or a starting point in arrears.
But here's the thing that I ask is there a foe for GI Joe that if they're aligned with Transformers, they can't just say, "Hey, Optimus Prime, take care of them," and then it's done. So it's like now you're gonna have to have maybe Cobra align with Decepticons.
The partnership. The partnership, yes. I hadn't read. I've got one GI Joe Transformers book, but I hadn't read any of them. But I'm almost sure the partnership between Cobra and the Decepticons would be what spurs the partnership between Autobots and GI Joe. I think that kind of desperation needs to exist, where Cobra has told the Decepticons all of the secrets. Cobra has let the Decepticons know how to end us, and we have to turn to the Transformers for help.
Finn.
Oh, look at that!
Ooh, look at this! Look at that!
Whoa!
That is Energon, Optimus Prime right
That's
there.
Ultra Magnus Prime.
This is Prime from the Energon series. Wow.
I think it's huge.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Thank you. I appreciate those words there, Izzy. I'm so glad that you've noticed. Oh my.
When it's that big, how can you not?
So this is one thing I want to say. Going back to the whole attention to detail of this movie. How many of you guys noticed the plaque when he opened the door?
Yes, a real hero.
Thank you. That was right there. The moment that I saw those words, real hero, that's when I knew that they were about to talk about G.I. Joe.
I didn't jump onto the G.I. Joe, but once he flipped the card, like my little rewind brain said, that play did say real hero on it.
I noticed it right away.
Talking to him, I was like, okay, I know what this is.
The moment he flipped it, I was like, did
y'all see the name on the card before he flipped it?
No,
I missed the card. I missed the name.
Yeah,
it was too fast
again.
I expected it to be a Sector 7 card. I expected him
I thought it was going to be Sector 7.
I didn't see. I had seen G.I. Joe Transformer rumors, but I brushed them off as rumors. Like, no, they're never going to get this together.
I knew that was happening. I saw the rumors about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, it's going to happen.
I saw them and dismissed them because I dismissed every rumor until it happened. So I dismissed it, and then I'm sucked into the movie and what's happening. And
I'm more the other way around. I'm the other way around. I'm like, the rumor's true until I see it's not being true. That's the way I look at it.
I hate rumors, so I always dismiss them.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
It's enough to be if it's big enough to be a rumor, it's big enough for me to say it's gonna be in the movie, and when it's not, I'm like, it's not in the movie, guys.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or in this case, maple syrup.
What was the name on the card, Mark? Did you catch it?
I'm trying to pull it up.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find it too.
Gotta wait for Nerdist. They're gonna be doing all 101 of those things.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they drop one tomorrow. I will say this thing. I did see Box Office Mojo. The movie made $60 million over the weekend.
The movie is up to 170 million
worldwide, though, but locally, domestically, made 60.
Yeah. It's kind of like Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious. There's some franchises that they bread and butter out of the States, and some they bread and butter in the States.
Yeah.
And then movies like Super Mario Brothers, it just wrecks all the markets.
Well, yeah, because Super Mario Brothers is Super Mario Brothers. Who everybody knew that thing was gonna.
The movie was at 170 million before the numbers for tonight come in summertime.
Yeah.
I got a question for a team, a Beast Wars question. A couple of times, Optimus Primus, Optimus Primal. I think
Primal Maximus. Okay, come on, we're just throwing all the names now.
I think we did get a Primus in that movie somewhere, but Optimus Primal a couple of times said a line about your sacrifice will be our story, or your sacrifice will be our your sacrifice will be our mission, or something like that. Is that a cliche of his? Do you know?
I don't know. He's always trying to live up to Prime, so I
He,
don't think.
I won't say he said it to Air Razor when Air Razor had to go, and then he said it to Prime right before Prime almost got caught by Unicron. He said that your sacrifice is our mission, or your sacrifice is our motivation, something like that. And I was wondering if that's a thing. If that's one of his catchphrases.
No, not really in that, but he is loyal. He is I sometimes find he's better than Prime. I know I'm gonna get shot, but like he is like a leader all in all in that, and he's like the better of the two and stuff. So like I feel like that suits him, but he's not known for saying it.
Okay.
He's a better leader than Rodimus Prime, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna agree on that.
I love me some Rodimus. I don't care what people say.
I can't live up to Optimus. Oh, what am I gonna do?
I love Rodimus, man. I don't know why. I got a soft spot for him,
Maybe
man.
you should have it.
What I am hoping for is that we get a lot more of the Beast Wars. Like there was a few of them missing from this, and like it goes to say like that they didn't make it. So like, are we gonna get a prequel? Like showing like we've gotten introduced to them. Are we going to go see these guys' story now? Because like the two that were missing were Rat Trap and Tigertron. And I would say Dinobot, but Dinobot like was a Predacon at first, and then he becomes a Maximal in like the second episode of Beast Wars. Like he leaves the Predacons in the first episode. He tries to overthrow Megatron, but then Dinobot later on. Like, so I don't know if he would even be there or if he got lost, but I'm really hoping that we get to see these characters fleshed out a little bit more, because like even Cryo Prime brought it up to me a couple of days ago. We didn't even get to see Air Razor transform.
Yeah. So we didn't get to see Unicron transform. That was the biggest disappointment to me.
Yeah, that's what I was disappointed too.
No, I was waiting for him to say.
I wanted to see that transform.
I thought that was too early. Like once you get Unicron transforming, like that has to be your magnum opus. That you have to end your. To me, you have to end whatever story you have for Unicron.
If we see Unicron again,
my assumption is we will. But they even made a point to say, is Unicron dead? Like, no, he's lost. But evil can never be killed. Blah 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 in that form.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Yeah. My assumption is that he comes back. We get a sequel, maybe a trilogy, and I think that's so hard though because they wanted to be so grounded and on Earth that it's hard to even imagine the space battle that they would have with the full size Unicron.
Are we talking about the scene in Rise of the Beast where they shoot a beam up in the sky and they call the Chitauri and this thing opens up and then Thanos is supposed to come from this hole in the sky? Is that the scene that we're talking about? Because that's what this last scene totally reminded me of.
They did borrow a lot from a lot of movies, right?
The Chitauri. They're calling the Chitauri here. This is what's happening, right? Oh, I've seen this movie already. Fuck this.
But going back to Cryo Prime's comment regarding to Rodimus was a leader in name. No, he was a leader. Ultra Madness was too busy trying to solve Prime mysteries. You know what I'm saying? If you guys know the reference. So Ultra Magnus, I love Ultra Magnus, but nah, he wasn't a leader. He was definitely a soldier, a sergeant, as they call it.
And then, okay, hold on. Here's another thing. Switching this up a little bit. Scourge's design when he took off his mask. Who had Ultron vibes? Like who was like, oh my god, he looks like Ultron? Because that's what I was like, that's why he's wearing his mask. This is Ultron. So
the fact he had a mask on was something.
Yeah, the fact that he had a mask.
He's like, oh yeah, let me take this off here.
Well, that actually, I thought talking about Scourge.
Yeah.
When did he take his mask off?
Towards the end, he had his.
I think Optimus knocked it off. If I remember right, Optimus gave him a good one and knocked it off.
Optimus peeled a piece of him off, but that actually went like I just like again. There's like we've seen that kind of format to the live action Transformers where there are levels to them. You know, like we've seen Fallen have his face peeled off. We've seen like Devastator get his head like peeled back. We saw Scourge get that chunk off, but that I didn't have as much context for Scourge until I talked to Izzy last night, and he told me about the formation of Scourge in the actual original storyline, and that actually started tracking. It's like I'm like, okay, so like how you told me, like he was like scrapped together by Unicron or something.
Yeah, so in the original movie, they were in the major battle. The battle was like the first 15 minutes of the movie, which is amazing when you look at it. And then they left, they retreated, the Decepticons retreated, the Autobots won, but at the cost of losing Optimus and all that stuff. So they're in what's the name of the train? I'm trying to remember the train.
Astro Train.
Astro Train, yes. So they're in Astro Train. And Astro Train is like, it's too heavy. There's too much of a load in here. So the Decepticons were like, okay, I guess we're going to have to get rid of people. So they got rid of all the beaten up Decepticons, which is mostly the Decepticons.
Insecticons, Thundercracker.
And of course, Megatron.
Megatron, yeah.
And so they did that. So, so Unicron summons them, right? He brings them over, and then he turns them into Galactus's, you hear me? Galvatron's minions. So
no one
Scourge,
summons Megatron.
Yeah. So Scourge is actually a minion. He's like a third tier minion to Galactus, because the actual second in command was Cyclonus, which I would have loved to see Cyclonus. He was one of the coolest looking Transformers, especially
were backwards, and it was pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
the way
about like when Scourge, like the way Scourge was powered, the way he was controlled, the way like the other creatures were coming off of him. Like I saw it was one thing, and I got that little backstory from Izzy. I'm like, yo, that's them just paying homage to, like, this is just like a creation of Unicron. This isn't a standard Transformer.
No, they're heralds of Unicron. And the only thing that was missing from Scourge was the handlebar mustache, man.
Yeah,
because he had a handlebar, but just like Eman, right? That's it. Eman's human form is right there. That's Scourge.
But here's the thing too about Scourge.
I wonder what Scourge was before Unicron.
See, in Robots in Disguise,
he was one of the Insecticons.
In Robots in Disguise, it's another iteration of the Transformer cartoon, which came out like in 2000, 2001. It was only 56 episodes long, and it was only in Japan. It came to the United States dubbed, and it was only like 1.5 seasons. In it, it introduced us to the Scourge that a lot of the Transformer nerds know as a clone of Optimus. Megatron was trying to create something as powerful, and he used his DNA, and then he scanned Optimus so that he can steal Optimus's design and Optimus's powers and stuff like that to create his own minion. And Scourge in the cartoon, he had this identity crisis where he was evil, but like he didn't know like if he should be more powerful or if he needs to be, more powerful than Megatron. It was an identity crisis that Scourge went through. So that's why, for me, who followed that, I know Scourge as an evil clone of Optimus, because there's Scourge and then there's Nemesis Prime.
Yeah.
There's two of them, but they're both evil clones
so
of
what
Optimus.
Y'all are basically telling me is that even in the diehard Transformer lore and history, they have rebooted, retold, stepped on the toes of their own lore, and people still give the live action stuff shit.
Oh yeah, no.
Well, here's the thing. Here's
look,
the point.
I'm gonna tell you the G1 fans, I think are it. Like they're, and the funny part about the G1 fans who are the original fans is that G1 I think is like a small percentage of all the Transformer content that's come out since then. It really is.
All the time.
Here's something I'll tell you. Believe it or not, G1 is not G1.
Absolutely.
So it's not the first generation of Transformers.
No, the first generation
are like the Diaclone and all that stuff.
Diaclones, yep.
Yeah.
Japan.
So the Japan has started the Transformers. G1 is in reference to the American Transformers, right? That was done by Marvel Productions and Sunbow. So they're the ones that did it alongside G.I. Joe. And so the G1 is not in reference to the first generation of Transformers. It's in reference to that series. They just called it G1 because G1 is like the first. What it really meant to say is season 1 rather than G1 of the American cartoon. and season 2 is the movie is after the movie where they killed off all the characters for toys so that the kids could buy new toys.
That
Yeah,
is too much. That is too much explaining why we're trying to tell people why
No, kids were
1986 is
traumatized. We were
better than
traumatized.
2000.
Yeah, that's a bold strategy to sell toys. We're gonna traumatize these kids, break their hearts, kill
Oh
their heroes,
yes,
Oh
It's
my
a-
god.
toys for it.
The trauma was real. The trauma was real.
The trauma
by the
was
way.
so real
Was
that the
extremely,
G.I. Joe
yeah.
movie that was already filmed, and created, they had to go back to it because they were also going to kill off Duke in the
Was it
G.I.
Duke
Joe
or Hulk?
movie. No, it was Duke. They were killing Duke.
okay.
It was Duke
Yeah.
because in the cartoon movie, what ended up happening is that they were going to kill off Duke, but right at the very end, what they ended up doing because of the backlash of the death of Optimus, more Optimus than anything else, what they ended up doing is that they comatose Duke.
Yeah.
They didn't kill him; they comatose him,
And you
and
clearly
that's
can
why.
tell that he was gonna die because he had
Oh,
that
yeah.
stick directly right into
Oh,
his
yeah.
heart, and you're like,
They
wait a
were
minute, why
they
did
were
that
straight
kill
up
him?
killing them, and
Yeah.
then and they make a joke about that in retaliation. That's why they killed off Duke so quickly in retaliation. That was
but they
the
did it in
nod
a
off
way
of the
that-
G.I. Joe
They
the
did
movie.
it in a way
Yeah,
that you
yeah, I
could.
was on. I'm like, I wonder who's been buying their time since the since the 80s. Like one day I'm going to kill Duke. I may have to wait for 2 or 3 decades, but I am going to kill Duke in a movie. And so some 75-year-old producers like I'm finally
We're
going to
gonna
kill
do it
Duke,
now.
and they
So-
won't ever remember.
So Izzy, actually, there are 4 seasons of Transformers in G1. So there's the 2 seasons before the movie, and then the 2 seasons after. That's Gen 1. That's G1.
Yeah.
G2 is what came out in Japan, and that was Japan
Yeah.
only. Now they did have I forgot what they called Optimus in Japan, but he didn't have the Optimus name. But G2 was Japan only. And then came out Beast Wars and then Beast Machines. And then after that, there was Robots in Disguise, then the Unicron trilogy, then
Headmasters.
Prime. No, Headmasters was season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Headmasters and Target Masters were still G1.
Target Masters. Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah. They kept going, and yeah, Mark, they changed the lore so much over the last 30 years. There's so many
crazy.
different iterations. Just like in the comic books, there's so many different iterations of the Transformer lore.
And that's kind of why over time I'm not going to say Bayverse movies have totally been forgiven by me, but I've gotten a little softer on the Bayverse movies because as I go, I'm like, okay, I see where he pulled this from, and I see where he pulled that from. Yeah. It wasn't perfect, but like he didn't pull all of these ideas out of the sky.
Yeah, it was only 4 episodes. Yeah. Where just
So I softened a little on the Bayverse.
I think the Bayverse
a little.
I still don't like the Bayverse, man.
There's people out there.
You turned Soundwave into a satellite dish, okay?
They look
That's
down
my problem.
On people that like the Bayverse, and like they look at them and say like, "Oh, this is my introduction to Transformers." And that it's like, "Oh, you suck."
That's the other thing. There are fans probably maybe like Mark who their first interaction is what Michael Bay brought to the Transformers, and you can't take that away from him.
I know a few people in this community that their first introduction was the Bayverse, and that's how they've grown to love Transformers from that. So you can't look down on people that like.
It's kind of like to think about. In all sincerity, just think of how many people trash talk and dislike and all that. The Bayverse. There are numerous billion-dollar plus movies in that franchise. That shows you how much fun those movies are, man.
Thanks to China, because those movies were a huge hit in China, in a region that doesn't really accept Western movies. For them to say, you know what, we liked number 2, can we invest in number 3, 4, and 5? And that's kind of what happened. China had a huge investment in those movies. And so with a lot of that money also came from all the viewership in China. So that's why
cool.
they're billion.
Except for this movie, right? I read some stuff that says that China is kind of turned against Western movies, and they're not expecting this movie to do as well, partly because of China.
Is it because of the whole LGBTQ like? Because I know that there was a movie that came out. It was a big movie, and I think it was
Spider-Verse is the most recent one.
No, it was.
Well, that's
years
showing
back,
in China.
but
They're just not going to see it. No one over
Yeah.
there cares apparently.
yeah.
But the Bayverse for me is kind of. I know we were having this conversation earlier about the later seasons of the Flash and how they weren't great, and I still want Labor of Love. That was what I was trying to think of earlier. I still watch the Flash as a labor of love, and that's kind of how I am, and I feel like some people are about the Bayverse. Is that it's not great.
Yeah.
But it did bring us live action Transformers, and like somebody invested in this property that we like. It may not have turned out well. It may not have turned out how we liked it. But somebody said, I got these few $100 million.
So,
Now we're 7 movies in.
Right.
Going back to
7
China.
movies in.
And it's important though to realize. I mean, because Travis said it's important to realize it's very tough to walk that tightrope to please the people who have all of the knowledge, like you guys have, of Transformers, while also realizing that every Transformers movie, to someone, it's their first exposure to it.
Yeah.
And we were talking
I
about
don't think
this
it was
last night
released
as
in
well,
China.
Izzy.
I don't
Izzy,
think it was released.
We were talking about this last night as well. Like, at what point, like, because I'm guilty of it with superhero movies. With like, well, scratch off Disney. Like, I'm done with Disney, but I'm guilty of it with like all the superhero movies I watch now. Like where they're trying to do more comic stuff with the movie, so we're looking more to the source, to the lore, and everything, and get nitpicky. Yo, for decades of my life, like, well, I'm 35 now. Not until like the last 10 years was it really like that. Like through the stuff that came out in the 80s, the 90s, like, yeah, dude, it's either a fun movie or it's not. Batman and Robin was too goofy, but no one was like, this is to this or this is to that. You either had fun watching it or you didn't. It wasn't until like even the Spider-Man trilogy, people have little nitpicks, but Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is like loved. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So
Well, I don't know if Spider-Man 3 was really loved, but
it has its place now. It has its place. I think it has its
in
place.
the trash.
I think it has its place.
But people still didn't go into those movies like they went in, like we go into movies nowadays. At some point, it turned.
So I think what ended up happening, because in the 70s, where we really got our first dose of superhero movies with Superman, that was like a big deal.
Yes, it was.
And then it wasn't until maybe 15 years later that we get the next movie, because we got a whole bunch of Superman movies afterwards. It wasn't until
12 years
89.
later. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't until
later we got
89
Batman.
that we got a second superhero movie that wasn't, Superman. And Batman came in, and if you watch Batman, the original 89 movie, it has a lot of campiness in it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
if you look at it, right?
Yeah.
So, but then the 90s, but that lowered into the 90s, and then we got, people forget about the Turtles, because the Turtles was the next movie that followed Batman.
That was in the 80s.
The Turtle movie came out in 1990, right after Batman. It was it was literally like that. But what ended up happening in the 90s is that we ended up getting a huge wave of comic book movies in the 90s. A lot of people don't even realize it, but they were done by studio executives more than anything, rather than people that read these stories. They literally just took a name and said, okay, let's make a movie into that. Okay, we'll call it Judge Dredd. Okay, let's make a movie into that. Let's call it, Tanker. And there were a few of them that actually outperformed, like, okay, let's take The Crow and let's make The Crow. So the 90s ended up getting those comic book movies that weren't really close to the source material. There was just enough of the source material to call it that movie, right? Because let's call it Judge Dredd sucks. All right, but Dredd is awesome. No, I'm talking about Judge Dredd, the Stallone movie. Taking off that helmet, whoa, that's bad, right? That was bad. That was sacrilegious, right?
Yeah, but were you really like fine?
I was pissed.
Judge Dredd.
I hated that. Because
so
Dredd does not take off his helmet
But real quick, this is a major point. I think Barbarian Kung Fu here really nailed it on the head. As with most things, the internet ruined a lot of people's fun.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of things because we didn't have that. But then it wasn't until we got the first real movie that kind of took it seriously.
X-Men
it was Blade. Then X-Men came.
Yeah, well, I know Blade came, but people didn't. That again is kind of like a property like Judge Dredd. Like, how many people in the general public went into Judge Dredd knowing it was anything other than like another Demolition Man? It's an action sci-fi feature movie.
But Tank Girl was another one. But Tank Girl, people forget about Tank Girl.
Yeah, but Tank Girl wasn't good.
That's how I went into Blade. I watched Blade the first time, and I'm like, all right, cool. It's Wesley Snipes killing vampires, and he's like a half vampire. And this is cool. And then Blade 2 came around, and even though people disavow it, Blade Trinity came around, and all of this is cool. And then I don't know how many years later, when I got into comics, like, oh, Blade is a comic book character.
Yeah.
Like I had no clue. We were just all out to see Wesley Snipes kill vampires.
Yeah, because
it was about the blood rave. All right, that what captured me about that movie was the blood rave at the very beginning when you see ex-porn actors out there. Yeah.
And it wasn't until X-Men that the comic book movie was really, the superhero movie is probably a better way of saying it, right? The superhero movie came into fruition because of X-Men, and then more importantly, X-Men 2.
Wait.
Really threw.
Wait, wasn't Spider-Man first and then X-Men?
No, X-Men was first.
Okay.
X-Men was
Spider-Man
first.
came later on.
Okay.
Spider-Man came in 2002.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they had to edit some stuff out.
They had to. The original teaser trailer of Spider-Man had the Twin Towers.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. It's out there. You can see it. At the same time you watch it, you're like, oh man, because he used the webbing to catch the helicopter. Trinity, I like Trinity. I actually do like Trinity. It's bad, but I like it, man. Like, what do you call it?
I can watch bad movies and still enjoy them.
Oh yeah,
it's like with Trinity.
It's awesome, man.
It's like with Trinity. Ryan Reynolds was Deadpool version 1. And then in Wolverine, he was like Deadpool version 2 until they're like, all right, let's just go ahead and just do the real version and just go ahead and
so Trinity walked so Deadpool can run.
Exactly.
I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, it's because of Trinity we got Deadpool. That's
and I'll be honest with you,
I've never thought of that, but that makes sense.
I'll be honest with you. I'm extremely happy we didn't get Spider-Man until 2002, because if it would have came out anytime prior to that, it would have been a disaster. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. They just did. Stanley said it best. Like, we just don't have the technology to make it happen. I remember watching an interview with him, and it was like 94, where Spider-Man was always in a development limbo. Right, it was jumping from. It was once a James Cameron movie at one time. Spielberg was attached to it at one time. All these guys were like, "Yep," and they just passed. They just let the rights pass on. They just made it go.
Huge shout out to Paul at ABX Comics and Games. Paul, I pulled a couple of books, and I'm bringing them tomorrow, and I'll be ready to do that. We're going to send off a little CGC submission. We're going to send them to Justin to get cleaned up and pressed out, and we're going to test these new turnaround times.
Nice.
Cool.
Also, Spider-Man had to wait because they needed Nickelback to be on the soundtrack.
And they say that a hero will save us.
I'm not going to stand here and wait.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a perfect song, though.
That song was, I had no clue who Nickelback was, but that song was on repeat for the summer.
Well, that was actually not even the full band. It was Chad Kroeger and Josie Scott. It was a duet with those two guys.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't even Nickelback.
Tuesday, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I might come by. It depends on when Kyle works. I might end up coming by the shop tomorrow night with the kids. We'll see.
Yeah, but Blade also had a great soundtrack. I can't tell you who was in the Blade soundtrack, but I can tell you had good music.
The best superhero movie soundtrack for me, Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
No, I got you a better one.
And that Evanescence, Suicide.
No, better than those. The best soundtrack got to be The Crow.
The first one.
The first one.
That's
got
too
nine. You got 9 Inch Nails. You got System Machine Gun. Cure. That scene, Burn, when he's running on the best comic book soundtrack is The Crow.
That would be a good debate to have. Like that.
Oh no, we're getting there. I remember I mentioned it. We're gonna do it. I'm doing it. I just haven't figured out a date.
I think because we were talking soundtracks last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
J-Man is a big soundtrack guy.
Transformers got a good soundtrack. It has some Linkin Park in it, so at its height too. But the original soundtrack is awesome. The '86 movie. That soundtrack.
The Transformers the movie soundtrack. It's on rotation.
Yeah. I will probably hear Dare sometime every work morning, sometime between 8 and 12. I will listen to Dare just to pump myself up every day.
Or Instruments of Destruction's also a great song.
Did it be stupid?
Yep, even Weird Al has a great song in that soundtrack.
Yeah, Weird Al in here.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy has a few decent soundtracks.
The first one.
That's almost cheating. That's almost cheating to pick
that's
Guardians.
more like a greatest hits album type of thing, really.
Well, in all sincerity, there's been a lot of great soundtracks out there. James Gunn really did just perfect it, though. He did it in a way like that no one else kind of did. And I don't know what that way is. It's just like he just has that X factor to it.
But that's what Crow did.
The third one was okay. I thought the third Guardians soundtrack was okay. It didn't live up to the first two, but he's got a lot.
That first one
he just knows he just knew the right songs.
I like volume 2 soundtrack better than 1 because
Nickel Home.
I have a kids Disney soundtrack for the kids, and it's all full of Disney cartoons, Moana, Frozen, and then of course I have to have the Guardians of the Galaxy in there. Technically, it's Disney, and the kids are like, yeah, so they're all singing Pina Colada and shit like that. Hey, you don't know what that song's about? Don't sing that song. Wait, don't sing that song. You're 10.
Let it go. If you like Pina Colada,
let it go. If you like Pina Colada.
Well, guys, it is getting close to the 2-hour mark here. We're going to end up wrapping it up here, but I do want to let everyone know that we didn't get to any comics tonight, but if you're interested, there are a couple of comics being reviewed in great detail tomorrow at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. We'll be looking at The Flash number 600, and we will be looking at Steelworks number 1.
Number 800.
Number 800. What did I say? 600?
I think so. But yeah, so Monday is the DC deep dive where me and Paul kind of keep up with what's what with the cutting edge of releases at DC. We do that over on his channel, as well as this is an off week for Guess That Key, but it will be back 1 week from Wednesday. With do we know who's coming?
With John's Comics with Kids and JP Budget Collecting.
The Comigories crew will be on.
Oh,
and then spoiler, 2 weeks after that, I believe we'll have Mr. Izzyverse on.
Finally.
Oh, I'm looking for a book. I have a book in mind already. So one that I haven't opened. So you can't go to my unboxing videos to find out which book is it, because it's not going to be one of those.
If you ever have me on that show, I promise you it won't be a Transformer book. I'll do my best for it.
And we're all going to need the 3 weeks rest between now and then, because we also will have Comic Journey on.
Holy shit.
You son of a bitch.
DM, you got Between the Lines tomorrow night?
We have Philtastic Comics and Art joining us. And that we'll make a post of what the theme is. And then later on this week, I'll have an unboxing from Retro Rocket Comics, because that is my new comic shop that I use. I have a box coming from them. Plus, I have a box coming from Paul. I have a box coming from Tony. I have a box coming from Norn Rad. I have a lot of unboxings coming up in the pipeline.
I do want to touch on this because I looked it up on IMDb to get his name, because all I caught was a U and a K on that business card at the end of the movie, and my brain just autofilled Duke at that point. And I knew it wasn't Duke, but I did IMDb Michael Kelly, who is the actor, and he's listed as Agent Burke. And Adventurous Joe confirms it says Agent Burke, America's Elite on the card. I appreciate that, Agent Joe.
Keen-eyed individuals in this group.
So I do want to say, because Jeff here said y'all are going to be tired next weekend after Heroes Con. So I'll be going to Heroes Con. I'll be seeing Flash this Thursday at the very first IMAX showing that we have here in Augusta. I've got tickets for me, the wife, Pops is going, my oldest is going, Paul, the LCS owner, is going. So we're going to have a good time. And then Friday morning, I'll be heading to Heroes Con. I'll be there all weekend. And that means next Sunday for this show, nothing will change because I will be doing a Flash spoiler special. I'll be damned if I miss that. So
yeah, with the timing would have been right.
Will you be on location at Heroes Con doing this?
I'll be right here. I'll be home by then. But it's Father's Day. I have to work Monday, so I'll need to be able to come and sit down and wind down. And this is how I do it.
Yeah, Sunday's always a good day to get out of the con early.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get out of the con early. I just luckily don't live far. You know, it's like
how far are you from the
2.5 hour drive? I'm still on call at work while I'm there, my guy. I tell people all the time, if I'm here at home and they call me emergency, I mean, I got to get kids situated and settled. Who knows what can happen? It could take me a little while to get there. If I'm at the con, just, emergency situation, I can just be there. But cool. Izzy, what do you got coming up on the Izzyverse?
So this week we got the weekly pull list. We're going to be talking about a very important comic that's coming out this week called Void Rivals. So if you don't know it, pick it up. Mm-hmm. That's the book of the week. That's going to be the FOMO book of the week. Yep. If anything, pick up whichever version you could get. I guarantee you that's the one that you got to get. Also, we'll talk a little bit of Transformers, how it did in the box office. We're going to do we're going to do the weekly releases and so forth. And we got a brand new Black Panther coming out this week as well. And some other good stuff. And there's going to be a Batman Flash giveaway tomorrow. There might even be an original art and some more unboxing videos. I'm going to be trying to get some of those things out in some shorts. And no, I won't be at Heroes Con, so I'll be home relaxing.
Ooh, this man.
Well, when your daughter's graduating from high school, you kind of have to do that kind of stuff.
I told you we would give her like a balled up piece of paper with a ribbon on it at the con.
She was looking at me like, "Dad, you can't go."
Izzy, I want to see results. I don't want to hear excuses. Okay.
Exactly.
But I did. We are going to talk about New York Comic Con. Tickets went on sale today, so I will be at New York Comic Con.
Not the same. We won't be.
I'll be there with the rats.
I understood that reference. I'm
gonna do a live video stream. Be like, hey, we're here at New York Comic Con, and here got a rat.
Do you still have those big rats that pull those pieces of pizza down the subway?
Yes,
they're actually delivery rats. They get paid for that.
Right. My wife was telling me earlier. She the other day, like 2 days ago, she's like, I got something for you. I was like, what you got? She had me a photo of a rat that was on the stairs, and apparently it probably ate the poison that was there. So the rat was literally dying.
Why was the poison on the stairs?
No, the rat probably ate the poison and was still moving around in the train tracks. But he wasn't on the train tracks. He was on the stairs, and he was just like,
poor guy.
Instead of taking a video, which I needed, she took a photo. It's like, the photo's not going to help me. It's the video they want. They want a video feed of a rat in New York. So we missed out on another opportunity. So the rat quest continues. So that's enough about me.
TJ, what do you got coming up? For those that don't know, real quick, you can actually go backlog in TJ's content and can follow the comic book lineage of Transformers. That's something TJ does over there.
All right. So to be honest, I make no promises for the near future because work and things have had me tied up in knots and running back and forth. But I am going to try to do a couple of unboxings, and I say this every time I go live, but I'm going to get back to Transformers Thursday. I have to wrap up Shattered Blast 2 so I can eventually get back to my Marvel Transformers reviews. That's the goal. I won't make any promises, but that's the goal.
I would like you to actually make us a promise here and now.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Are you going to be able to swing through Heroes Con this year?
I am. I don't think unless a miracle happens, I don't think I'll make it. I know I have a track meet to be at that Saturday, 2 hours the other way.
Well, sounds like you could do conditioning there, then run your happy ass to the con.
I'll see if I can think of something. I'm 2080 right now, but I'll see if I can think of some excuses or some kind of a loophole or something.
No problem.
We're gonna have a barbecue over here, and I'm gonna tell my wife, "Honey, I'll be right back." Okay, I'll be right back. And then like, where you been? Nothing.
12 hours later.
Yeah.
Because from where we're at, it'd be like a 6-7 hour drive to get to. Well, for me now, it's like 6 hours. So
I think it's like a 12-hour drive for me.
Was that?
I hope you're not traveling through Philadelphia.
No. I'm down in Montgomery, Alabama, and so
what's happening in Philly?
I-95, a bridge collapsed in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Word?
That's right. Yeah,
That was there last week.
In Philadelphia on I-95. It is going to be.
I know which bridge you're talking about.
It's going to be. It's just going to be
not from Philly.
Madness for months.
I think a tanker hit and fire and brimstone.
It's like when it happened in Atlanta.
Wow. I did not. This is me not knowing news. It's like over here, it was smelling like maple, and I was like, "What's with all the maple smell?" And it was like the wildfires. That is so terrible. Wait, does the wild? Is that true? Does it That's
actually
true.
smell like
No,
maple?
New York City ended up becoming sepia tone. We were sepia tone for 2 days.
Mhm.
And what I mean sepia tone, like when you walked around, you thought you were in a movie.
It
in
looks
a
like
sepia
Blade
tone.
Runner 2049.
Yeah,
right.
And photos.
So
Right,
and it
I saw
smelled
it.
like maple.
I expected people to be walking around with masks and with little dark goggles and doing.
New York, man.
I expected that, but I didn't know it would smell like
Nah,
that.
man.
So
We were walking around. We were walking like we were in Dune or something. All we needed was blue eyes. That's it. At the end of the day,
for people of my lineage, smelling like maple is a trick. That's evil. That is very. I'm coming outside with pancakes, and that's very evil.
it smelled
For this dangerous smoke to smell like maple.
It smelled like maple syrup from McDonald's. You know that heavy McDonald's maple syrup?
Right.
That's what it smelled like.
You know the old cartoons where like the hungry guy used to have the scent up his nose and he just float. That's me floating to the deadly maple syrup smoke.
the next day I told my wife, "Can we have some pancakes?"
Who's gonna go out and get them?
I'm gotta wrap this up. E-Man, what do you got coming up on your channel? You've been playing a lot of games over there lately.
Well, I haven't streamed any of the games, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. But on my channel, E-Man's World of Geek, I have a 350 subscriber giveaway. Go and look for that video. Go ahead and enter. Anyone who follows the instructions is eligible for entry. But unfortunately, I'm holding the giveaway at 10 a.m. next Saturday Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. And I know you're going to be at Heroes Con, Mark. And
well, I got a chance to win then. That's what you're trying to tell me, man, right?
Izzy got a chance to win for sure.
Even more importantly, what's going on with the C-List Villains podcast, my man?
And then on the other channel, the C-List of Villains podcast, this Tuesday we have cover artist Chin Potter on the show. We're going to be doing an interview with him next week. I don't know if you guys know, but we're going to have Bran Flakes on our show for an interview. We're going to sit down and talk to Bran Flakes. And then on July 11th, by now it's not even an interview. It's more of a, why don't you come by and hang out because we're friends. We have John Jang coming on the C-List Villains podcast on July 11th.
I'll be looking for my link and invite for that one.
Will you be up that late? It's at 8 p.m. Pacific. That's tomorrow your time.
8 p.m. Pacific. What's the date? What date on that one?
That's
It's tomorrow
11
your
p.m.
time.
You said July what?
July 11th at 8 p.m. That's what, 11 your time?
Yeah, that's a Tuesday work night for me. So unfortunately, hell no.
Yeah.
You mean you're gonna pass up John Jane for work?
I'll just text him.
Boo!
He'll text us for sure. He'll send something. And then on August 8th on the C-List Villains podcast, we are doing an interview with Philip Tan.
Cool. Philip's cool. He's a good guy.
August 1st, we are interviewing someone named Minerva, who's the artist for The Mask of Halia, which is a Filipino-ran comic book.
We have that comic on the show before, right?
Yep. I've had the ladies of Quinto Comicx, which is the name of the publishing company, on the show, and we've talked about the comic book. It was really fun. Those girls were really, really cool, really nice. They were very much in tune with what they're trying to bring forth with their comic book. So we have a lot of interviews coming up. So make sure you guys subscribe to the C-List Villains podcast on YouTube.
And I appreciate everybody popping in the chat and everything. Be on the lookout. Tomorrow I'm dropping a video on the local Joe Fest, Augusta Toy and Comic Show that they hold here. It's like Augusta's biggest con we have. It's legit. Me and Pops went Friday. I had to work all weekend, but we went, got in an hour early last Friday. We were able to be there for 3 hours and pretty much hit everything there. Got some cool footage. Actually ended up scoring some really cool stuff. And I was kind of like, I was excited for Heroes Con, but going there and just getting in that atmosphere and it just turned back on. Like, it's just really fun just to go in there and just see what you can pull off kind of thing. And I love that environment. So it got me really excited for Heroes. So be on the lookout for that video tomorrow, and then Tuesday will be New DC Day, and I'll probably talk about some of these books this coming Tuesday as well as what's releasing. It's going to be another small week, so there'll be room to look back 1 week.
By the way, your con videos are super fun, Mark.
Videos are really good. I won't spoil anything for the general public, but Mark joined a certain club, and you'll have to watch the video to see which club he joined because it is very cool.
Yeah. And now I'm about to tell all these guys how much I paid for that once we get done being live.
It was that was probably the best part. That was like, okay.
But I appreciate everybody watching. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps with the eternal battle against the YouTube algorithm. Hit that join button. Consider joining the Legion, becoming a member, and all that good stuff. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion. All right, it's Friday. Me and Pops are going to take the kids here out for a stroll and check out the Joe Fest. You want to see the convention? Yeah? So Friday they have it open for just 2 hours after work all weekend. And